Hard Reuben. Oh my God.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hard Reuben's Force-Fed Cafe, episode number 8. I'm Hard Reuben, and this episode I am joined by Lena Scissorhands from the band Infected Rain. If you don't know Infected Rain, I suggest you check them out immediately. Active since 2007 with their roots in the former Soviet country of Moldova, Infected Rain has fearlessly blended genres of music including nu metal or metalcore, hip-hop, and DJ culture that is somehow intertwined seamlessly in the sound that they've cultivated in their 12-year history. In my view, Infected Rain is onto something, a metal sound that's interwoven with the artist's individual influences and tastes, embracing all that brought them to their calling. Infected Rain is a metal band of true artistry and a band that has defied labeling. Also, in this episode, you'll hear me admit to the ignorance of youth in a time when big-name metal had particularly sexist and testosterone-laden attitudes, and how I was a part of the problem. I'm pleased that the music I love has evolved, and even more pleased that I have. This episode had its share of problems with our telephone connection, but it was nonetheless an enjoyable conversation, and I want to send a huge thank you to Elena for sharing her time with me. Here's our conversation. I'd like to start right at the beginning, if we may, and talk a little bit about the beginnings of the band.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. It's not a secret. I mean, there's information all over the internet, and I talk about it all the time. It's basically a very boring, classic scenario. Just, friends playing around, fooling around, and trying to be creative, and just, we came out with Infected Rain after a while. It's just, we kind of started in 2007, and little by little adding musicians, and we were offered to play a show, and we decided to go for it. And our first show was in 2008. So from then, it's when we all understood that this is what we want to do, and we definitely will continue doing music, and we'll see where will that bring us. We just did. We just worked hard, and together with our own lives and together with our own jobs, we never gave up on the band, although we come from a very remote and small country of Eastern Europe where possibilities are very little, and no places to play and no audience almost. So it was pretty tough in the beginning, but you have to start from somewhere. This is pretty much how we started, and little by little we decided to go out of the country and play shows somewhere around Moldova, which is the country where we come from. And we border with Ukraine and Romania, so those two countries were the first that we visited with our shows. So on and so on, we went further and further and further, and then invested more and more in our music and in a tour van, in CDs, in everything,
It's funny that you call that you referred to that origin story as kind of boring and typical. I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything boring or typical about.
No, I didn't mean boring in that way. I just meant that in my head, for some reason, I was never in another band. I was never a musician before Infected Rain, and in my head, this is like a classic scenario. It's like just friends, hanging out together and coming out with this crazy idea of playing together. This is what we see in the movies, and this is what happens with us, And I just happened to be around the right people, I guess, and at a good time. Because, as I said, I never been in a band before this specific band, and for me, it was a challenge because I knew I need to learn a lot, and I knew, I need to evolve in this. It's not going to be easy, but it was fun. Not easy, but fun.
Yeah, it's definitely not. So I totally understand what you're saying about that sort of classical kind of movie idea of how a band forms, friends get together. so coming from Moldova, where you don't really have a big like heavy metal kind of scene. I mean, it's not quite. This isn't Gothenburg we're talking about, right? That you don't have a huge, huge underground scene, and you started off somewhat experimental in your approach to heavy metal too. Looking back at you know you've incorporated some rap and you've incorporated some sort of electronic, that DJ aspect, which has been done at different times by other bands, but in kind of different ways, you know. And you've really Infected Rain, it looks like over the last few albums has really evolved quite a bit.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, when you were starting, I mean, it is not really typical. How you started as a band is very organic, and that is how a lot of bands do start. But here you are 11 years later, and you're still doing it. And that is not very organic. That takes a lot of work and a lot of determination.
True. It is true. And especially it is true when we talk about bands that come from my neck of the woods, if you want to call it that way, you know, because after a while of hard work and dedication, unfortunately, people give up, you know, because it really is not that easy to come out from a country with such little opportunities. And it used to be even more difficult before, because we had very strict rules regarding visas and everything, even to like Europe, you know. And now it's way easier, but I'm talking about 5 years or 6 years ago, it's when everything changed. But in the beginning of Infected Rain's career, the first 3 to 4 years, was struggling with visas and permissions to go abroad and play. And trust me, that can break you. Sooner or later, you know, you will give up, because it's just so frustrating to argue with people and demonstrate them that all you want is share your art and your music with, you know, another country and represent your own country in other cities, in other countries of the planet, you know. I mean, they are not to blame. Everybody that work in the government and in embassies, they are not to blame. Obviously, there are many cases of people wanting to stay legally in countries, and we totally understand. It was just very difficult, very, very difficult. So I'm saying all that only to let people understand where we come from, like how hard it was in the beginning. Probably if we didn't have that problem to deal with, probably Infected Rain would be a little bit at a different level right now, because I feel like that stopped us a little bit. It was like a big anchor that we had to like carry around. It kept us, it gave us only the opportunity to do very small paces, you know? When the borders opened and we were able, our country was able to travel more, a little bit more free, it was easier for us to go around Europe and play more shows and dedicate more time to music and actually be able to sell your music online, because believe it or not, Moldova was not even in the list of PayPal or all that, you know, internet normal things that we are all used to. Moldova was not even in the list, so it was impossible to even put your product over there online, which is, you know, the biggest thing like nowadays, you know, for people to search for you, to listen to you, even to even download, you know. It was very difficult, and that is what stops many musicians and many bands.
So that must have been quite a challenge for you too, being in Moldova with all these restrictions, and then but you still managed to put out in your first year. It looks like you managed to put out a CD, and you managed to put out some recorded music.
Basically, in the second year, I would say, we recorded our EP. Our first album came out way later, because we needed a lot of money to invest. We all needed to work very hard to invest, because obviously the first record is the most difficult to invest in, especially if you're not, you know, too lazy or too dumb to think that any type of recording will do. You know, from the very beginning, we knew that we have to give quality to people. So the quality of the sound mattered for us very much, and the quality of our music videos a lot. In fact, you can see that all of our music videos from the very first one were well done, and they are evolving every year. We try to be better and better, and that's not because we have just infinite money to invest. It's because we really believe that something that is pleasant for your ear or for your eye is a little bit easier to understand, right? And that works even in an underground alternative scene. It doesn't matter, And basically, it was hard. We all had to roll our sleeves and work hard, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, including me. But we did it. And it took us 10 years of hard work, being an independent band, to be where we are right now.
And would you say that it's paying off for you now?
Definitely. I would say that every time we go on tour and we have shows and we meet our fans, or we just lock eyes from the stage with them, you understand right away that it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
All this hard work and dedication, and even, all the sacrifice that some of the musicians have to do. We all leave our families and don't build our own future because we blindly believe in infected brain future no matter what. And we did have some situations that tried to break us. We had really big car accidents on tour. We had robbery on tour. We had people not paying us on tour. We had a lot of situations that I'm sure a lot of bands went through, that those particular things can really break you. They can really put you on your knees and be like, is it worth all this? It is. It really is. I mean, obviously it's sad and you have to deal with that stuff on tour, unfortunately, but it's all worth it. And trust me, I have this opinion since the first show in 2008. For me, it was my very first show ever. For my other musicians, it wasn't, because they were in other bands before. So, just local small bands, because obviously they were young, like 14, 15, 16-year-old kids playing in bands. But yeah, when we created Infected Rain, I think I was already 22 or 23 at that time. So, not super young to start with.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your style. So I've listened to your full catalog in the last little bit, and obviously, I mean, there's some evolution there. You're getting as a band, I think you're getting stronger and tighter, and not to say that you weren't strong and tight to start with, but you had a natural evolution there. And one of the things that I've actually enjoyed the most is that sampling of different styles that you have done throughout your career, right? Like from the rapping and the turntables and I've read a couple things where you're labeled as new metal and you're labeled as metalcore, and I've subscribed to the idea that there are too many metals at this point, and we should all be making music that we love and is an amalgamation of all of our influences. So if you
Correct,
choose,
I agree with you.
If you choose to do a song that's all clean singing and it's sweet and romantic and it makes your heart jerk, then you should do that. And if you want to make music with beats that are not typical heavy metal, but they still move your body, then you should. And that's the thing that I've enjoyed about your catalog, is that you seem to say,
Thank you.
Hey, let's just do that. And it might not speak to everybody, but I think that's it definitely spoke to me, and I think that that's a unique embrace of your musical catalog, and I think that sets you apart from a lot of other people. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. What were your influences, being where you lived, and sort of the access that you had to different styles of music, and how you came to the sound that you came to?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for noticing that and for actually appreciating that, because you said it very correctly. Not many people understand that. Unfortunately, very many people are a little bit more close-minded when it comes to genres and music styles. For some reason, they want you to be very loyal to how you started, or very loyal to what your sound is, or something like that, right? And from the very beginning, in all the interviews and with all our albums, because we are right now about to release a new album this year, which is going to be album number 4. And if you put all these albums together next to each other, they are similar, but they are so different. So I feel like we've demonstrated that to people, and we showed to people that this is what we want to be. We want to be very open-minded, and we want to be free in choosing the style we want to sound. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is when we compose, it's so amazing how, because we accept all these different genres and we listen to so much music, it's amazing how our songs are created, you know, like those beats that are mixed with like super heavy guitars and super fast drums, those like super high pitched singing or brutal, like lower kind of screaming, they all can fit together without considering like a rule of here you have to scream, here you have to sing, or here you have to not sing at all, you know? You don't apply all those rules. I feel like as an artist, you can show more and give more. And from the very beginning, Infected Rain was born like a very emotional band. I'm the one writing the lyrics, and I've been listening to alternative music since I was like 13, but I've been liking and loving music since I was a kid. And I feel like music was kind of with me all the time. I remember, watching MTV as a small kid and liking, Michael Jackson and all those Queen and Madonna. I used to like weird songs and later on with Bjork, and it's so weird how that then evolved into metal, because later in my life I listened to like heavier music. But still these days I am a person of moods. I can listen to pop music, electronic music, rap music. I have my favorites, And that doesn't mean that I try to learn from them, but in a way or another, we are who we are because of what we have around us. People that are around us, music that is around us, books we read, movies we watch, places we've been or we are going. All these things, I feel like somehow create us who we are. And this is how I write my own lyrics too. And I feel like I have a lot to say, and all of my lyrics are very emotional. And just because of how my boys write the music, I feel like I am very free into writing about everything. I can be, as you said, romantic, or I can be sexual, or I can be very angry, or I can be depressed, or I can be happy. I can do all that with my songs, and I love it infinitely because this is who I am as a person. This is who we are. Everybody is. It's just that for some reason we don't allow that. Like some people don't allow that to happen. But we are all that. We are human beings, and this is how we are. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad. Sometimes we are very, very frustrated. Sometimes we are in love, So why not be ourselves when we create art, when we create music? Rule number 1 for me since the beginning was to be honest and to be who I am. And I am a very emotional person. And this is why our music is like that.
I like what you've said there. There's something that I often will avoid talking about because I don't want. There's this thing that happens sometimes where people talk about women and music, and it's about this woman fronted band, like it's you're setting them aside somehow into a new category, and I don't like to do that. I don't like.
Yeah,
that.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I get that a lot, and I don't feel like there should be a different classification.
There absolutely
it is.
Yeah, there absolutely should not be. There absolutely should not be. But the one thing I do want to say is that I find that where music is right now, where you have tons and tons and tons of strong, amazingly talented women coming out and being part of bands. I mean, heavy metal used to be men's only, right? And there were a few people that started to crack through that. And now you have a flood of amazing bands with women bass players or women singers, women drummers, and it's so wonderful to see. Partially because I feel that it adds a new dimension to the music itself. It gives it a quality that is much more, and I think you spoke a little bit about it, true to yourself and true to the art of it. And I think it speaks to people more, and I think it has a deeper impact than just a bunch of, and I say this from some experience, and I'll tell you a story that's embarrassing and humiliating, but it's a fact. When I was younger, and I'm much older than you, when I was younger, I fancied myself a singer in a band, and I was putting together a band. I was about, 17 years old. And I remember meeting this woman who was a bass player, and she was great. And I said, and this is true, and I'm sorry, and I hope she went on to make millions of dollars somewhere. I said, there's no room for a woman in this band.
I see.
And I said that because I envisioned my band like all my heroes' bands.
Definitely. No,
right?
I understand that.
And
of course.
And it was really not very much longer after that I discovered a death metal band called Bolt Thrower, who had an amazingly talented female bass player who broke some rules. Yeah. And it was not long after I made that mistake that I realized what an ass I had been. And I'm glad to see that more and more people, it's not, and the reason that this came up for me today is because I've spent a little bit too much time on the internet watching what's happening in the United States with all of these states trying to decide what women can and cannot do for themselves, and it's infuriating me beyond belief. And I'm finding myself feeling, because I've been listening to your albums the last couple of days, and I'm finding myself eternally grateful for, I don't want to say softer side, because women in metal can be brutal, but it's a different side. It's a deeper look.
Yes, I agree with you. I think I understand what you're trying to say. It's more of a tender, I guess, and you're not the only one, and you're not to be blamed, especially because you understand what happened and you are sorry. It's not that you think like that all your life. There are still some people that think that way, and I get some interesting messages here and there from people like that, especially in the beginning of the Intact Brain career. It was a little bit more frustrating because I was way younger. Obviously, I was very curious about every comment and every feedback people would give, especially because this was my first band ever, and I was not even sure if what I'm doing is correct, But I realized after a while that if I love the band, me, singer of the band, and I want to listen to my band in my player, right, that means that I do a good job, because I appreciate music a lot and I listen to so many bands. And if there are other, that means that I achieved my goal. Because I do music, and we do music in Infected Vein, first of all, for ourselves. Because music, when you create music, and when you create a lot of different kind of arts, actually, this works like a therapy. It calms you down. It gives you this special, safe place in the world where you can be who you really are, or you can be who you really want to be, right? So because of that, when I arrived to the point to understand that, then it didn't matter to me when people were judging me for the fact that I was a girl singing, right? Or for the fact that I was screaming instead of only singing, or vice versa. Now, by telling you that, I have to tell you, for example, if you scroll my playlist of songs and bands I have on my phone, I don't know if you're going to find many bands with like female fronted singers, but there are many bands that have girls in the band. And I don't do this on purpose. It's just how it is, because I don't care. Because I think nobody should care if it's a girl or a boy, a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. What matters is, do you feel anything while listening to this band? Do you have goosebumps? Do you have emotions? Because if you do, it means that person, whoever that person is, did a good job. So that's pretty much it. That's when I realized that, and that's when all those comments and all those things that bothered me. I do have that question asked a lot in interviews, but mainly people ask me if I see any difference in like attitude from fans or from other musicians. That's the most common question, which is also interesting. But it doesn't matter. To be honest with you, I think especially nowadays, it's very normal and okay, even for a man to be sensitive and to be emotional and to be crying on the stage. Like, let's be honest. I love going to shows, and I've seen that happening many, many times. I love talking to a lot of like my colleagues, musicians, and other singers, or just other musicians of other bands that share the stage with me. It doesn't matter big or small. And I heard a lot of cool stories, and trust me, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't see any difference. And I don't see how that could be an issue nowadays for anybody. If it is, it means that the person is very close-minded, and that's it. The poor thing is very close-minded.
Yeah, I agree, and thank you for humoring me with that little rant that I had to go on there. But I've just been over politicized the last couple of days on the internet, and I've been feeling like, oh my God, I am so grateful for the female energy that's now filling the music that I love, and it's better for it. So
thank you.
Thank you for humoring me. So you're now going back to sort of when you were first starting as a band, or maybe a few years after. Is there a band that you played with or you came across? Because you've played on the same stage with a lot of big bands. Is there a particular band that you came across and you played with early in your day that really opened a door for you, or helped you, gave you some advice, or pushed you in a right direction? Hey gang, you feeling sluggish, trying to find some energy for the gym, or wishing you could shed a few pounds and are struggling to find just the thing to help you? Then check out High on Life Superfoods. High on Life is the leading provider of hemp-based, nutrient-rich supplements intended to instill optimal health to those who wish to perform at the next level. Listen, I'm not just talking here. I use High on Life products myself. LIT is an amazing hemp-based, vegan, raw food blend that helps reset your body's nutrient balance and kickstarts your metabolism to get you going through the day. Use it as a shake, in a smoothie, or try my favorite. Mix it up with some cold coconut milk and cocoa, and voila, LIT ice cream. Do your body a favor, everyone. Go to highonlifesuperfoods.com and enter the code ForceFed10 on checkout to receive 10% off your order. But don't just listen to me. High on Life is used by some of your favorite bands: Suffocation, Trivium, Dark Angel, Testament, Body Count, and many more. These guys know what it means to need to keep up their metal pace. Try it and you will see the difference. I have. highonlifesuperfoods.com. Get it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that about bands that we played with. We started playing with bigger bands long after. As I said in the very beginning, first 4 to 5 years, we were not playing with any big bands. We were just playing either solo shows or just headlining shows with like local bands in Europe. That was pretty much it. Later on, when we started opening for bigger bands or co-headlining with bigger bands or playing at huge festivals at the same stage with bigger bands, or on the next stage, because there are sometimes multiple stages at festivals in Europe. It was at the point where we were treated like equals all the time, which is amazing. I will be honest with you. I never felt judged or considered like small beginner, just kids that just wants to play some music, and vice versa. I never was treated like, a superstar. So always was treated like equal, and people will talk and share a lot of cool things. And I wouldn't say that there was a band or some bands that helped us out, unfortunately, but I would say that a lot of those opportunities opening for those bands or playing with them definitely gave us a bigger audience. That's when, little by little, our step in the musical career started to be bigger. Definitely. That is for sure. And I will advise all the beginner bands or the bands that, are doing great already, but they need that, push and that next step. That is what you have to do. You have to open for bigger bands, or you have to try to play at festivals with bigger crowds to be known and recognized by bigger crowds, for sure. Bigger audience.
So you're living in the United States now?
Yes.
At what point did you make the move from Europe to the U.S.?
Well, I moved here almost 4 years ago, but I only live here when I'm not touring, which is not too much. It's like we're talking about 5 or 6 months per year. Everything else we tour. We always tour a lot, like 3 big tours every year. So I don't have any relatives at all in Moldova anymore. My family lives in Europe, and me, myself, I used to live in Italy for many years. I did my university there. It just, I just wanted to be here, and I feel good here. I feel like home here for now, and this is what makes me happy, because your home is where you feel happy. So for now, this is what it is, and I'm the only one living in the United States for now. I mean, I go to Europe a lot.
Mm-hmm. You have a full tour schedule coming up this summer and fall. I saw all in Europe.
Yes, we usually always do. We try to plan the whole year pretty much in advance, even if we don't really announce it right away. At least we plan it. Before we signed with a label, which happened in February of this year, we had 10 years of independency, basically. That meant literally doing everything by ourselves. So even booking shows, booking tours, taking care of all the traveling and everything. From one side, it was easier because we were planning our own trips the way we want and the way we like. But from the other, it's like, again, it's smaller steps, it's smaller clubs, it's smaller things you can do. When there is a label behind the back, there's a lot of people taking care of you. So hopefully, we just started. I can't say that much changed yet, but with releasing of the new album, a lot of things are going to change in our career and for our fans in a good way. It's just going to be more music, more touring, more Infected Rain, and, finally we can just relax and be musicians and not be managers, booking agencies, our own, designers, editors, everything. Like, we used to do everything.
And that actually leads to that's a topic I speak about with quite a few of the people who join me on this podcast, and that is that do-it-yourself industry that has to happen as a young band if you want to grow, because really labels don't look at you if you haven't done some of that work on your own, and you haven't
especially nowadays, because there are so many talented, hard-working bands nowadays that can really do stuff by themselves, can really, without waiting. Back in the day, you only had radio stations that could promote you,
mm-hmm.
and that's it, basically. There's no internet, and no streaming, and no pirating. So you needed to have somebody almost right away starting from your first record. When I'm talking about like the 90s and the early 2000s. Right now, there's so many talented musicians that have the opportunity to actually not even really tour much and just do music, upload it, and, create some music videos, and people know them. I know so many musicians that are known around the world, and they don't really even tour much.
There's also I've come across, and this is part of, there's a bit of a theme to my podcast that I alluded to with you when you and I were messaging, that one of the things I really try to get to with people, because I've discovered over the years that there could be a band and you think that they're mammoth. You think that they're just rolling in money and they're doing great things and they're rock stars and they just tour and record records and then that's it. But it's surprising how many bands they are name bands. People know them. They listen to them. They buy their records. And when they're not on tour, they go to work. Their band is not sustaining them, and they continue to do it out of the love for it. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to make a living in heavy metal, particularly, even though heavy metal is a growing genre of music. But it's still very difficult for even some name bands to make a living.
It is absolutely true.
Is Infected Rain at a point where you guys can focus entirely on the music and the tour and the business of the band, or do you have to supplement that with other artistic ventures or other things? And I'm thinking particularly, it looks like you have a very connected relationship with your fans via your YouTube page, which I'd like to talk a little bit about, and via your social media. And so you have a very tight relationship.
Yeah.
And is that providing you with that ability to just focus?
Okay, so you are completely right. And it blows my mind sometimes how people really just assume that, if you are doing shows or if you have, some people they assume that if you are on tour or if you have a record, then you're doing good right away. It's not like that. And yes, I did say that this era is a little bit different thanks to internet and thanks to social media. You can literally do so much without really doing much and show and share your art online. But that doesn't mean that you are going to have a lot of money right away or that you are going to have enough money to survive right away. As I said to you a little bit before, signed with a label only in February of this year. And of course, even signing with a label doesn't mean that you are going to sell right away and you're going to have a big income right away. Hopefully that is the plan, of course, because the goal of the label that works with the band is to make things easier and to make, the dream come true. And so that musicians can only do musicians and live out of that, correct? Now, I stopped working fully at jobs in December of last year. And I didn't stop because I finally have enough money to leave. No. I'm still in, that doesn't mean that, I am finally at the point where I can leave out of it. It just means that I can finally be at that point where I can do more as a musician and give more of my own art or music to my fans. Now, when I say that, I mean that I decided to stop working right at the point where I decided to create my own YouTube channel and to be closer to my fans. Because I realized that I want to be closer to my fans because just thanks to my fans, I am where I am. And thanks to them believing in me as an artist, as a musician, as a person, I am where I am. And I can be more thanks to them. So because I've been receiving so many letters and so much support from Infected Rain's fans, I decided that dedicating my free time, my not touring time, to videos that I upload online, to creating more music or creating more art because I do other stuff other than music, I just am a lot closer to my fans. I literally have time now to email them and talk to them or have Skype conversations with some of them. I created my own Patreon page where some of the fans that don't have the possibility to actually come to shows, they can support you somehow in being an artist and in your career by donating a little bit to you as an artist and having your art growing thanks to them. So this is like a new era where your fans are a part of what you are and your fans are a part of your art, because thanks to them, I am able to travel more, to record more, to film more, and to give them all those footages of behind the scenes, all that stuff, I would say that, everybody in the band kind of stopped working last year, pretty much. But the expenses in Moldova are way, way smaller for like living bills and everything. So it's possible to survive from, and pay your bills until you go on tour again. Definitely. It's possible now for us as a band. It's not a secret. And I'm not like right now, I'm not saying it just because I want people to feel sorry for us because that's all we can do with the band money and the band income. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. Actually, I think it's a big achievement. I know a lot of huge bands, just like you said, that they still have the need to work and still some of them don't even have the opportunity to tour as much as we do just because they are not able to go from their job. So they tour way less because of that. And we made our decisions, we decided that even if we have to eat less or to buy less toys or shit that you don't even need, but you tour more, we will choose to tour more, So that's just our decision.
Yeah, and it's kind of the reality. It's I mean the modern day is that your band is not the only part. You, Elena, are the
Yeah.
brand for yourself, right? You're
Yes.
part of Infected Rain, and there's that mechanism, there's that business that you, and it has to be a business to a degree
Yes,
where
and it's not no shame in that. Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, the people that don't understand that and people that don't realize that are just again very close-minded. Because I get that there are many people that can't afford to support you or to buy your product or to come to your shows in order to donate in this like mechanism and this like machine that needs to go, it needs to move, right? There are people like that, but they are still very loyal, and they will write to you and they will like support you online with like the amazing comments and amazing feedback. And I listen, I come from a very, very poor family, super poor, like literally we were sharing clothes with my sister. So I know that. I know all that struggle, and I understand, and I'm not judging anybody unless you are judging me for trying to make money with my art. That's the only time where I'm going to be judging you.
There's a couple things that I would like to ask you about. First of all, I mean, you are the brand. Elena is the brand, but you are using the name Lena Scissorhands. Where did you come up with that? What gave you the idea for that?
Well, this is a very childish story I have here. At the age of 16, I, together with my school, like high school, I decided that I need to start working, because as I mentioned before, I come from a poor family with like a lot of sisters, and I'm the oldest sister. So I decided that I need to work, and the only thing that appealed to me and that I liked was to become a hairdresser. And I found a school that I could do after my actual school, after in the second part of the day. And I decided to go for it, and I invested in those lessons. I learned to be a hairdresser, and I got a job right away after I finished. And at my final exam party type of a thing, all my friends made me this really cool, cute shirt that said Lena Scissorhands, because I was always a fan of Edward Scissorhands movie, and now I was cutting hair, and it was just an inside joke with my friends that became later on my internet name, and I just kept it with the band later on. I felt like it's cute. I've been a hair and makeup artist for 12 years, full-time job.
That's a great way to come up with a name. That's good. It was given to you.
It was.
And now, how did you come up with the name for your YouTube channel, Bananas?
Well, Bananas was just came out really funny. I just remember I took a picture, and on the background of that picture I had all the fruit I have in the house, and I had a lot of bananas in there. And I was just thinking about a name for the YouTube channel that would be good enough to explain my world and what I'm going to share with the world through this YouTube channel. And I always thought that bananas, in I think American slang only, the meaning is really cool. The crazy idea behind it literally is amazing. And just because of that picture that I took accidentally, I just decided to call it Bananas.
So I want to go back to your vocal style. So
Okay.
I mean, you have some incredible pipes. You have that a really nice, I'm gonna call it sweet sounding vocal when you want it and you need it, and then you just tear the listener apart with your screaming. And I find, like, I mean, this is a style that lots of people are going with or trying to do, and some do it well, some don't do it that well. You do it fantastic. I think
Thank you.
your voice has been one of the things I've really enjoyed about listening to your catalog. What do you do to protect that? I mean, you talked about how you kind of got into the band and you'd never really been in a band before, and you started off with this. You've been going from the very beginning. Did you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to hurt myself. I need to protect my instrument?
In the very beginning, as I told you before, we started rehearsing and like playing around, just by playing some cover songs, and then later on trying to do our own stuff. In the very beginning, in 2007, and then beginning of 2008, way before our very first show, obviously, I hurt myself a lot. After that, for the first 2 years, I would say maybe even more, still happen once in a while for me to have like a hoarse voice or whatever you call it, and like even me not being able to talk for days. I look at this way. It was for me specifically, it was like learning, like a toddler learns to walk. And obviously you're going to fall, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to cry, you're going to bleed. At a certain point, you're going to be stable and you're going to understand how to walk. This is what happened to me. Obviously, I had a lot of help. Almost right away, I knew I wanted to learn more, and I knew I needed professional opinion on it, at least opinion. And I did my research, and I tried my best to try to find somebody that can help me in this specific genre. And obviously, there's nobody in Moldova that can help me with that. So then I just decided to learn to sing classic vocals and to just ask around who is like a good teacher to go with. And a few people, told me about a specific teacher that was teaching in this University of Music and Art in Moldova. I had her phone number and I approached to her, obviously. The first thing she said to me, she was like, I will definitely listen to you and I will definitely give you a chance, but I want you to know that it's pretty late to start learning music at this age. It's not very easy. So, it frightened me right away and it made me think about it and had doubts right away. But I was brave and I went to the lesson, and she taught me how to breathe. She taught me how to warm up properly. And we had a whole set list of like classic songs, some of them even opera songs that we used to sing together. She just wanted to continue working with me. And I'll be honest with you, I don't write or read music notes, but she taught me the basic of vocalist, I think pretty well, especially for the beginning. But that was not really enough for me. I tried my best to search online and to, try to do certain things that some vocalists that I admired do, And obviously, I hurt myself a lot, especially when you try to copy somebody, when you try to learn from somebody, I feel like you hurt yourself a lot more. And later on, it made sense to me when I discovered my current vocal teacher. Her name is Melissa Cross. She's from the United States, and she's a coach for many, many known vocalists, for not only for metal, but mainly for alternative type of music, And she used to have like DVDs at the time when I found out about her. And that's how I tried to learn thanks to her techniques. And then in 2014, if I remember correctly, is when I was able to have my first lesson with her. And I met her, and we are friends still these days. And I try my best to visit her in New York like once a year minimum. And, I have my vocal lessons since then. But, I have right now, my technique is just to, first of all, rule number one, I try my best to be myself all the time and to feel what I'm singing about. Second is I try my best to have this habit of warming up my whole body and my vocal cords before every rehearsal and before every show. That helps a lot, and that helps. It's like for an outlet. When you're working out pretty constant, your muscles are not sore anymore. Your muscles are strong, and you feel your body pretty good. If you stop for a week, 2, or a month, it's becoming more difficult for you. And if you stop and then you go to the gym, your whole body is going to be sore. Trust me, it's pretty much the same. So I just try my best to, even when I'm not touring, to have that, habit of working out and warming out at home and do my exercises. That's pretty much it.
I sang when I was younger, and I used to do the vocal exercises and train. At a certain point, I just decided that it wasn't really for me, and it wasn't long ago I tried to sing, and I definitely hurt myself. Mm-hmm. I was not back in it. So
you're not the only one, trust me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people stop when they hurt themselves. They think that they cannot sing, but it's not really true. Very often when you hurt yourself, it means you push too much, and it means you're trying too much, right? And it's all about finding that sweet spot, that sweet balance of feeling comfortable with your own voice. And trust me, I'm saying that, but I'm still learning. I feel like I'm learning every year.
And that's how you'll get better.
Yes, exactly. That's how everybody can get better.
You've got a new record label. Can we talk about that? Because you have you have a record that I believe it's in the can. You're just waiting for it to be released. Is that where you're at with that?
Yes. So our new album is in progress right now, and it's going to be released somewhere around September, maybe a little bit after. We don't have a date yet because we still have to finish with some of the recordings, and it kind of depends on that a little bit. The only thing I can tell you is that our fourth album is going to be called Endorphin, and it is going to come out this year, somewhere in fall. Yes, but before that, we are going to give another 1 or 2 singles to people. And music video is coming out very, very soon, probably June, for a song from that album. And, it's still in progress, and maybe we will be able to release something else before the releasing of the album, some kind of little video or just a single.
And you'll be on tour as of just a few weeks from now, the middle of June.
Exactly. Our first festival is in Austria, and we are going to play at Nova Rock. And that will open our summer season, festival season, definitely. And our last one is in the middle of August.
Before I let you go, let's tell people how they can find you. Let's give them the address to your YouTube channel and your Patreon, if you like, and your social media accounts. And then
It's very easy. It's very easy. Before I say that, I just want to tell you that I'm not expecting anything from anybody. The support is there, and I know you are there, even if you can't join me or you can't support me the way some of the people do. But if you want to support and if you want to be part of the creative process that I'm having, please join me on my Patreon, which is Lena Scissorhands. Join me on my YouTube channel that is called Bananas. And if you want more information about the band Infected Rain, about our merch, or about our upcoming tours, or about our upcoming music, you just go to infectedrain.com. And we will be very happy to see you there.
Lena, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the interesting questions.
And I look forward to the new record, and I'll keep an eye on you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go, folks. That was my conversation with Lena Scissorhands from Infected Rain. I'm looking forward to hearing more from them in the future when their album drops later this year. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please check us out wherever you find your podcasts. Subscribe to us, leave a review, and maybe join me on Instagram. That's really the only social media I spend a lot of time doing. So if you're enjoying the show, I'd appreciate it if you'd follow me there at Hard Ruben Official. See you next time.